pitching. Pitching our ideas, pitching our business, pitching ourselves. I'm often asked for tips on how we can pitch ourselves confidently and well. And there's one overlooked piece of pitching, the pitch deck. These are the slides you use to sell yourself, your company, or your idea. The official pitch deck definition is: a pitch deck, also known as a slide deck or startup deck, is a presentation that gives an overview of a business's plan. Pitch decks are usually created using PowerPoint, Keynote, or Prezi, and cover key points such as products, services offered, costs, and overall business model. In other words, a pitch deck is a summary of all your great ideas in visual form. I really recommend, even if you're not doing a formal pitch or you don't have a startup, try creating slides around your big idea, around yourself. Especially if you're applying for jobs, you're looking to raise your rates or get that raise, having a pitch deck with all your ideas, all your reasons can really help you visualize and convince people to show that you not only can talk about these ideas, but you can also show them. Typically, pitch decks help us accomplish three things. They help people understand a business or a project. They get people to care about a business. And most importantly, they get people to take action. The whole goal is to explain your plan, your idea, your service, not only the what, not only the how, but also the why. Why do you care and why should they care? And then specifically, what action should they take? Are you looking for a raise, promotion, an investment? Are you looking for people to buy or buy in? Your why has to be a critical piece of how you organize your pitch deck. By the way, here's a standard format for a traditional startup pitch deck. Company purpose slide, problem slide, solution slide, why now slide, market size slide, product slide, team slide if you have one, business model slide, the competition slide, and the financial slide. In this video, we're going to do something cool. I'm going to actually take you through some original startup decks, some original pitch decks from places like Airbnb and BuzzFeed and Buffer. We're going to look at the actual pitch decks they used and some cues and tips for why they worked and didn't work. So we're going to walk through them together. I'm going to demo for you exactly what worked. And we're also going to get a little peek into the original pitch decks of some of these very successful companies. So let's look into 9 original pitch decks from very successful companies and see what they did right and what some of them did wrong. So I want to start with Airbnb, which originally, as you can see, was called Air Bed and Breakfast. So they clearly shortened that. And this is from 2008. What I want you to notice, the reason why I picked this one first, is there is a very consistent visual look to these slides. That it's not just about the content, and they have a very standard flow for their pitch deck. It's almost exactly what we talked about as the traditional flow for a pitch deck, but they have made it look really consistent. So they start off with the problem and they identify the problem right away: price, hotels are leaving you disconnected, and there's no easy way to exist. Of course, they have the solution. Something clever here is, so you'll notice that we have a lot of similar colors. They have the same frame. You also might notice they're using the rule of 3 throughout their slides, which is a very clever way to bring in a consistency. So they have 3 problems. Then they have 3 different solutions. Then, impressive numbers, got to have some of those. Then they have 3 different bubbles of market size. So that's 3 threes in a row. Let's see if we got another one. Oh, there we go. 3, 3, 3, right? So 3 screens about the product. 3 is a really nice number, by the way, because it helps you not be overwhelmed. We like the number 3. Our brains are kind of drawn to that number because we can usually easily remember 3 things. So I think that was a conscious or subconscious tap in with this slide deck, and it clearly worked. Again, we have 3. So the business model, 3, 3, 3. So they broke it down into just what are the 3 most important things. I am sure on a pitch deck that you could have way more than three images or way more than 3 problems, right? I am sure there's way more than 3 problems, way more than 3 solutions, but they focused on the top 3 because they know that's all the brain can handle. So again, we have 3, 3, 3. Oh, there you go. Adoption strategy, 3 different adoption strategies. Notice they didn't list 7. They listed the best 3, and they made them very clean and simple. Then they have their standard competition slide, what the market looks like. Competitive advantages. So this time they added 6, but they're still in the 3 column. I'll give it to them. Look at this. They even have 3 co-founders, right? So that match the co-founders on purpose or not, I don't know. This is actually my favorite part of this pitch deck is not only did they show some press, they also had specific user testimonials. This is the best part of this pitch deck, is they didn't just show social proof with something official, right, with press, but they actually have real people with real photos who are already using the product and have real testimonials. That is a great way in a pitch deck to show this is not theoretical. This is just not just an idea. This is actually working and we already have social proof. Brilliant. I love it. And then, of course, the standard money slide. All right, the next one I want to show you is Buffer, and I don't want to click through the entire deck. You can, we'll link to all these below so you can click through them, but I really liked Buffer's pitch deck specifically because they made you think. So what's great about this is, so they start off their pitch deck with the acknowledgement that social is trendy. Okay, now this is from October 4th, 2016. Everyone's talking about social. This is actually a very clever way to start because they're literally showing this, look at this chart of the upward trend. Everyone's talking about this and that this business is going to capitalize on a really popular trend. My favorite slide though is this one. It is extremely simple and it is extremely powerful. How do you use social to drive traffic? So Buffer is a specific kind of company where they help you post across social. They're a tool that helps you post across social. And anyone who's ever done this or tried to use social to drive traffic will quickly discover how horrible it is. And that is exactly what's most powerful about this slide, is it makes the person who's watching think, oh yeah, how would I do that? Ugh, or when I do that, it's really annoying. So in a way, they make the user think of their own problem. Immediately, I was like, oh yeah, that is so hard. It's so hard getting my content across lots of different social platforms. And then they begin to go through, and you can click through it, all the difficulties of trying to queue your updates, post things across social, and how hard it is, and how Buffer is an elegant solution. So I loved Buffers. Very simple, and it made the user think about the problem. So on your problem slide, whenever you're describing the problem, you don't have to go into a ton of detail. You can actually make the user think of their own experience with the problem. Let's do Shopify next. So this is from 2016. So Shopify was already in existence. In fact, it had a lot of social proof. And look what they did right on their first slide. They already show you that. So they're saying right off the bat, we're not a new company. We're not a baby. We have 200,000 plus active Shopify merchants, active being the keyword, and already 1.9 million in revenue. Okay. So they're already showing huge amounts of numbers right in the first slide. That is so smart. They don't need to have a title slide with no information. They literally are saying it right up front. We are already successful. This slide, I don't understand. I do not know why they packed this in. I can't even read this slide, but my vision is also terrible. So this, I think, was a little bit of a fail. I really would recommend not packing so much text on one slide, but I think they redeemed themselves on this slide. So again, learn from them. Do not do a bunch of text on one slide. It's really, really hard to read, but do learn from them in this slide. I love this slide because instead of having bullets, they created a visual metaphor. This is so powerful. So obviously they're saying here that Shopify is like a storefront, and they literally build for you a graphic of a storefront. And instead of saying one platform, every channel, and then having bullets, Pinterest, Facebook, Twitter, instead they show each of them as if they are a storefront. This is incredibly helpful and powerful because if someone doesn't know what Shopify is or can't quite get their head around what it does, in one image they've done it. That literally Shopify creates virtual storefronts, just like someone walking down the street, as if they're going to pop into your store. So if you can, think about, instead of having bullets on a slide, could you create a visual metaphor that will help someone understand exactly what you're trying to say in one visual image? Super powerful. My favorite part of this deck. Next one, let's look at Dropbox. Again, you can click through all of these on your own. They're very interesting. I just want to call out some of my favorites so we can learn from them. So Dropbox is okay, but actually my favorite slides are 2, 3, 4, and 5. Again, this is a great use of visuals to immediately bring up the problem. So their very second slide is what it's like to have a very messy desk, that storing things is really hard. And even though this is a digital product, it reminds you of how messy storage can be. So I love this immediate visual image. I'm sure it got a couple of laughs when they were actually pitching it. And I thought that this was the perfect framing of this problem, that this was done in 2007. They said, in 2007, it's still a pain to do these things. It's ridiculous that in 2007, we're still struggling with this. That is a great way to remind people that they are dealing with a problem they shouldn't have to deal with. And everyone wants to get rid of a problem they don't have to deal with. So I liked the framing of their problem in that if we're going to advance technology, we should have done it by now. And this is the last one that I really like, which is what are people doing now? Which is, if in this time before Dropbox, this is exactly what you're doing. You were sort of trying desperately to share attachments. You were doing email attachments. You were giving people thumb drives. You were uploading things. And then this last one, piecemeal solutions, which is exactly what it felt like. I don't know if you remember the time before Dropbox, but I do. And it was exactly that. It was piecemeal. It was janky. It was hard. And so I like the way they frame the problem here is you shouldn't have to be dealing with this. And the way that you're dealing with it now is way too hard. And we found a better way. Next pitch deck is YouTube, which is funny because I use YouTube all the time. Friends, I was shocked by this pitch deck. You're going to be shocked by it. So this is YouTube, like the platform with the most incredible, engaging video. If you would ask me, what do you think YouTube's pitch deck is going to be like? I would be like, oh, it's going to be super snazzy. They're going to have so many cool GIFs and visuals and videos and graphics. No. They went the other way. Take a look at this. YouTube, broadcast yourself, which by the way is a pretty cool tagline I hadn't heard before. I guess that was original. Company purpose. Okay, very simple. Problem. Very simple bullets. Solution. Very simple bullets. Are you seeing what I'm seeing? Like there are no images, there are no GIFs, there's no color. It's the most simple slide deck I've ever seen. And you know what? It works. It totally works. In a way, they're one of the snazziest companies, but they use a very simple pitch deck to be like, listen, we think that this product and this idea stands for itself. And in a way, because they didn't use snazzy things, it stands out. I remembered this pitch deck because it was so simple. And it's just a very basic overview of the 10 or 15 slides that you need for the perfect pitch deck. So I think this is an incredibly powerful reminder that you don't have to get fancy. If you have a great idea, if you have great numbers, if you have a great product, that can stand on its own. Next up is Tinder. So Tinder originally was called Matchbox, the flirting game, which I'm kind of glad that they rebranded. The only reason why I want to show you the Tinder pitch deck is because they start with a powerful story. They start off with a very funny, relatable story for anyone who's a recovering awkward person. So here they have, meet Matt. Matt spots a girl he likes at a party. But like most of us, Matt won't go over to say hello. Okay, super funny. He has the same problem most of us do, fear of rejection. Meet the cure. I love this because they framed the problem in a funny, cute story that immediately helps you understand the problem. So don't just think about setting up the problem as a couple bullets. Think about the problem as what story could you tell? And could you use an actual image of a person or a real person or you and make that a part of your problem? So Tinder, I thought that was a great way of bringing in a story to explain something instead of just boring old bullets. Next one up is Spotify. So this is a beast of a pitch deck. It has 70 slides. Friends, I would never recommend having a 70 slide pitch deck. There is no way that someone's going to be able to remember all 70 slides. So what I want to focus on here is actually just a couple of slides that I liked the best. I want to focus on a specific set of slides in the Spotify pitch deck that I think are the most powerful, which is a timeline progression. So here we see on slide 17, February 2012. So we're set in place. 10 million users active within the previous 30 days. So a huge amount of users in a specific set of time. 15 million tracks, 500 million playlists, 1,000 servers in 3 countries. And then they begin to go into, so those numbers hit you, right? So I love this sequence because those numbers just hit you. It's like, whoa, what? Oh my goodness. And they begin to go into a very specific and very direct, there's not a lot of words on these slides, what is the system? And again, they then use the same mode to show what the system is. So how fast it is, that it's always working, And they go into how do you accomplish it. I just want to show those slides because they're very, very simple, but the numbers blow you away and they sort of tell a story in itself. So we can learn from Spotify one big thing. First of all, try not to have 70 slides because they're overwhelming. They're very interesting. You can click through them. But if you can hit people with a series of really powerful numbers that also tell a story, that might be better than a bunch of bullets on one single slide. Let's do a quick one on Coinbase here. So I liked Coinbase. It was only 11 slides, so it was super powerful. I'll click through this pretty quick so you can kind of see how they feel. So what I liked about Coinbase, again, a very similar visual feel and design. You can sense that it's all part of the same company. They have, again, that rule of 3, very simple. They have a powerful graphic image, pretty cool. Oh, look at that. Standard growth. You got to have one of those standard growth slides. So if you're doing a pitch deck and you have anything that's explosive in growth, users, revenue, money, customers, you want to show that in one of those upward trajectory charts. Investors love them. They talk about the different kind of groups of early adopters. All this is okay. Now they're talking about the problem, the current tools and how ugly they are versus Coinbase, which is so simple. So you can very clearly see without thinking too much that the current tools look janky and Coinbase looks really great. But my favorite slide is actually this slide. I love this slide because in 4 words and 2 semicolons, they give you a very powerful comparison. If you can compare your product or service or yourself to something that people will immediately get, it's a very powerful way for people to create a story in their own mind. So they're basically saying Coinbase is to Bitcoin as iTunes is to the MP3. In other words, in a very quick 4-word metaphor, it gives you another story to hook onto that can explain the positioning of Coinbase. So in other words, I want you to think about, is there a similar story to yours that you could compare your service or business to? Sometimes comparisons are the fastest way to tell someone your story. I want to give you one more additional thing on Coinbase. So you might have noticed that a lot of these pitch decks are between 10 and 11 slides, or the really good ones are between 10 and 11 slides. There's a little rule of thumb you can follow, which is 10, 20, 30. 10 slides that take you 20 minutes to explain with 30-point font. That is a great rule of thumb to keep in mind here because 10 slides are not too overwhelming. 20 minutes is about someone's attention span. And if you go smaller than 30-point font, you have too many words. And so a lot of these great pitch decks, you'll notice they follow that 10, 20, 30, where they have 10 slides or 11 slides with font that's no smaller than 30 in that, so people can very easily read it. The last one I want to do here is Peleton. So Peleton, they broke the rule of 10, 20, 30, but I think they did it for a good reason, and clearly it worked. What's really amazing about Peleton is they use images that show their people in the moment of success. And specifically, they nail it. They get their person right. So you can see some of these. My favorite slides are actually coming a little bit later. So these are all pretty boring. I think they're okay. You get it. I think where they really pick up their stride, I said slide, is I love this one. So first, we are not a gimmicky fitness brand. So an idea you can have for your pitch deck is doing a we are not slide. So if you have trouble defining who you are, say who you're not. This was my favorite slide. I felt like the first 6 slides were a little bit boring, but here I got it, right? So this is a really big difference in the fitness community. No before and afters, no cheesy ads, not a fad, and we don't talk down to our people. This is an incredibly important positioning of Peleton, and I think it helped people realize, oh, really? No before and afters? You're not going to talk down to people? What does that mean? And then they begin, I think, oh, this slide is way too packed. I would hope they were zooming in on things because you can barely even read it. But my favorite set of slides actually is these. So we just got a really, really great set of positioning what they're not. And now they're talking about what they are. And the pictures and the text are really powerful here. So they have a picture of someone actually in a workout, makes hard work fun, pushes me to excel. This is using the first person. So they don't just say pushing people to excel, pushes me to excel. And you have a person clearly in their bedroom doing a workout. This is really important because they chose not to have fancy pictures of Peleton in a perfect gym. No, they had pictures of real looking people. I don't know if they're actually real people, they could be models, but real looking people in a real bedroom, really sweating.
right? So that in itself made Peloton look really different from every other fitness ad they'd ever seen. Innovative design, again, in his living room or in his office with sweat, right? You can see the sweat stains on there. I love this, right? Wholly immersive. So we see sweat, we see hard work. This is not happy dappy smiling models. This is not a perfect bike and a perfect gym that's perfectly lit with perfect models that are smiling. No, they're showing the hard work. So what I would say here is, take a note from Peloton. If you have images that show your people using the product, they don't have to be perfect. I think that actually what you're better off doing is making yourself look different, right? Back to that original side of what you're not, by having very different kinds of images than your competitors might have. So I hope this has been really helpful. I highly recommend you click through some of these pitch decks to look at them in full, but this gives you a couple of ideas, hopefully, for your pitch deck too.
So I hope you enjoyed this walkthrough. I hope you found it helpful. Remember, you don't have to just use these tips for a formal startup pitch. You could also use them for pitching yourself, your ideas. It's great practice to create one of these pitch decks to see how you can articulate your ideas in visual and verbal form. I talk a lot about visual imagery and color cues in my book Cues. I have an entire section on color psychology, on visual metaphors, on imagery. So if you want to learn a little bit more about how to use visuals and color to be more convincing and persuasive, I highly recommend you check out Cues. It's wherever books are sold. Don't forget to check out all of these goodies.